Hey, I'm Josh Jacko. I'm sitting here in Charleston, South Carolina, outside of Seacoast at the Fine Conference, here inside the Exponential RV. And I'm getting to spend time with my new friend here, Scott Thomas with Acts 29. And so won't you talk to us a little about what's going on with you and Acts 29 and how you got involved with all of this?
Yeah. Well, I was a church planter for 16 years and was a part of Acts 29 for the last 5 years. And I was on the board of Acts 29. Prior to coming on the board, I attended Mars Hill Church and went to one of the Acts 29 boot camps. And it was the first time I'd ever been exposed to Driscoll. And so we were sitting there taking notes, and we took notes based on things you'll never hear at the Baptist convention. So we were just writing down, and we'd go back and we'd read that to our wives, things that you would never hear at the Baptist convention.
What were some of those things, or can you share?
Like if people are messing with your family, photocopy your middle finger and send it to them. Things you normally wouldn't find at a thing. So we were kind of shocked, but we were intrigued by it. Well, Driscoll and I got to hook up at that time, and we spent some time together. And we subsequently spent more time together and enjoyed each other. And so, anyway, but it was at that boot camp. Mark talked, Rick McKinley got up and spoke, and then the guy that was the director, Eric Brown, got up to speak. And when he got up to speak, it was like a flood of the Spirit came upon me and said, "That's what I want you to do." And it wasn't a voice or anything, but just real clear to me. And I didn't tell anybody, of course. I didn't raise my hand and tell people I'm supposed to take over. But I walked up to him later and asked him some questions, just kind of feeling out what the Spirit was doing with that. And then I tucked that away. I didn't do anything more with it. Let it alone. I never told my wife. I didn't tell the guy that was with me. So, come 3 years later, then I'm on the board, and they get ready to trying to hire somebody for the new director position because the director was going to take another position within Mars Hill. So, we're sitting in the board meeting, and Stetzer's on the board, Darren Patrick's on the board, Chan Kilgore's on the board, of course Mark, as the president, is there. And we said, "Do you guys have any?" Mark says, "Do you have any names for a new director?" And I'm looking at Stetzer, he knows everybody, and Darren, and Chan, these guys never said anything. So I just leaned up to Mark and I said, "Well, what kind of guy are you looking for?" And he said, "You." And I said, "A guy like you?" And he said, "No, you."
Really?
Boom, I'm starting a church. It was going well and it was secure and stuff, but in my head I'm going, I'm starting a church, but back in 2003, the Holy Spirit said, "I want you to do this." So I'm sure I had a dumb look on my face. When I told this to Stetzer, he said, "Yeah, you did have a dumb look on your face." But that's it. So I leaned up and said, "Well, if you're serious, I'd like to ask you a few questions later." Mark said, "I'm serious. Start asking." So I don't know.
Right there on the spot.
Driscoll. And so that's how it went. So that was February of 2006, and in March, my family and I went back to check it out. And April 1st, ironically, on April Fool's Day, I began with Acts 29.
And so talk to us about kind of where Acts 29 was at when you started as director and kind of where it's gone now.
Yeah, it was interesting. As a kid grows up, you got a little bit of kids and they grow up and you certainly see them. So I felt like that Acts 29 was in that toddler stage. Just kids running around. It was a lot of fun. Unpredictable though. A lot of energy and excitement that was going on with Acts 29. We were small, and there was about 60 churches at that time that were a part of Acts 29. But it was like a toddler. And so I felt like we were dressing him up for his first day of school on my first day there. And we're going to send him out, and we took pictures outside, and it's going to send him off. And so we've seen Acts 29 grow. And so since then, the last 3 years, we've planted over 200 more churches.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun. God's doing it all. I tell people, He's doing it in spite of us. It's really, we can't take any credit for it at all.
And why don't you talk a little bit too about what is the staff of Acts 29 like? Do you guys have 50 people working in an office building? And what are you guys dealing with there?
Well, if you've seen Wizard of Oz, we're just behind the curtain pulling levers. There's just a few of us. So it's myself and then Tyler. Now, ironically, Tyler was the one that came with me to Seattle.
Okay.
That first time in 2003.
No way.
And then we subsequently planted a church together. And then when I asked him to come with me, he was reluctant because he didn't want to move his family and things. And so I just looked at him and said, dude, you want to make a dent or do you make a difference? And so that little phrase he's kept saying, man, he keeps telling me, we're making a difference. We're making a difference. So it's just he and I together. He just kills it in his world. We have over 500 applicants.
Wow.
And he processes all that right now. So
he goes through, and what does it look like? So walk us through the process, if someone applies, what does that look like on the Acts 29 side of putting them, figuring out if they're the right person to plant?
Yeah, so we do online, and so guys will apply online, and they submit a bunch of information about their family and their theology and their marriage, and a lot of things that they'll submit to them, their church planning strategy.
A lot of stuff they would do if they were going to go through an assessment process, all that stuff. Okay.
So we just do it online. It takes longer to do that this way, but the time that they have to be interviewed is actually much shorter.
Yeah, it makes it easier for you guys. I mean, like it cuts down on, you get that on the front end. So, so yeah. You can go ahead.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So when they apply, then once they have a phone interview and they pass that phone interview, then they go into a formal assessment, and we spend down. What we do is our assessment process is done by our church planners.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I train our church planners on what to do and
like what things that they need to be looking for.
The questions you ask for. I put together about 60 criteria for what a church planner would look like, and so they ask them those questions based on those 60 items.
Really? So what are some of those 60 items? You don't have to give us all 60.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's an overview of some of those things that show up?
Theological clarity.
Okay.
Marriage and family is strong. Emotionally mature. And we find that there's a number of things in their area that are pretty common that you'll see. But the areas where they seem to fail in Acts 29 as far as the assessment process would be theologically, because we're a little bit tighter theologically than some networks. And so theologically, then marriage is the second one. And then the third one is character.
Okay.
We'll find so.
Wow. Now, how do you assess character? That's one of those things that it seems like it's really hard. Character is something that you discover about somebody over a course of time. But when you're dealing with starting churches, you don't. The course of time that might take to know their character, they could be planning a church, and if they don't have character, it could be falling apart. So how do you, during the assessment process, figure out what their character level is even like?
Well, we send that questionnaire
Okay.
of those 60 questions, and we send them to 6 people. We call it a 360, and they would score from 1 to 5 and say, based on this, as a man leading his home, how is he? 1 to 5. Click. He's whatever he happens to be.
Okay.
And so they're a compilation of all that.
And those are 6 people that are in his life in a variety of positions, right?
Yeah.
These aren't his 6 best friends that film this out.
People he's discipled, people maybe that are peers with him, people above him,
Okay.
and then in addition, he submits the same thing himself. He's filling out that as well.
Okay, and you kind of like lay those over and try to figure out.
Yeah, and our Acts 29 guys have set a criteria. This is the standard for each of these areas. They're not all 5, but there's certain ones that are like, do you have a personal walk with Jesus Christ? Well, we think that probably should be up there. A little high.
You should probably score above a 2 on that.
Yeah, probably.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot for joining us.